Hey guys, hope you're having a great day today. Today we are talking money. Yes, a good topic to talk about. But if I say today we're talking budgets, you might click off this video. But I've been asked by some of my viewers to share my best budgeting techniques and what we do. And so I thought I can do that. We have lived through a economic crash of 2008. Still here to say that we've made it. We have 10 children, goes against everything that everybody tells you should do. We have done multiple things over the years, and guess what? We're still here to say we made it. But we had to adjust a lot of things we were doing over the years. We've had to learn to cut back on some other things and areas in our life, and it didn't happen automatically. We didn't like go, oh, this is perfect, let's set up and let's do this. No, we had to learn by trial and error. So the best thing you can do in life is learn from somebody that's gone before you and learn from their mistakes. Take some advice and implement it into your life. So what's the point of budgeting? If you don't budget, you're not going to know where your money goes. And then at the end of the month, when your car engine blows up, or your tire pops and you need a new tire and you have no money, it's kind of disappointing, right? So if you can kind of plan ahead, we can't foresee every single thing that's going to happen, but if we can kind of set aside something, have some kind of knowledge of where our money's going, it helps make the stress way less in our life. Probably the number one thing that people have stress about is financial situation, right? Most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, yes, and if like you lose your job, you get sick, or whatever happens for a week, it's total devastation. We don't want those situations in your life. We want to be able to be, all right, what can I do? Let's adjust and get back on track. So I'm going to share with you what you can do today to take these steps to make life a little bit less stressful in yours. All right, first thing you're gonna do is get yourself a piece of paper right here. Big piece of paper, construction paper, anything to write with, it doesn't matter. Something that's gonna be able to write on your paper. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna write down all of your expenses. Everything you spend money on for the month. I know it's going to take some time. You might have to go back and look at your bank, open up your bank app on your phone, go through, write everything down. Your rent, your house payment, your utilities, your car payment, like include things like trips to the coffee shop, include things like subscriptions to YouTube or Netflix or whatever you subscribe to, phone bills, every single thing, groceries, every time I went to the grocery store, list that amount and clump that sum together so you know what you're spending on food. Sit down, get real, do the last like 2 or 3 statements of your bank so you kind of know where your money is going. And don't forget things like Christmas. Like, do you do a budget for Christmas, or is it just whatever? Could be just whatever. Write down question mark if you have no idea, but if you like to spend a gift for somebody, write that amount on there as well. And don't forget to include the gas, because you got to get to work, you got to be able to drive places. Write that amount too. All right, was that hard? Yes, you get real with yourself. You're like, what? I spent how much on coffee? How much am I spending on streaming services? I know. This is your real part. It's the painstaking part, but it's good to do. All right, the next what you do is you list your income. What is your income? Write that down on that paper. Just like do one column of expenses, maybe one over here income. There's probably only gonna be one line, but know how much you make in a month. It might vary. Sometimes maybe you're working hourly. Sometimes your hours are high, sometimes they're low. I would take a middle number if that is the case. Write that down as well. All right, then you're gonna take another piece of paper, or the same one, just move over a little bit, get a new piece of paper, it'll look a whole lot better. And now you're gonna write down what kind of your bills that you listed out are essential for real life. I'm talking real life. Start writing down, like, is your rent essential? Yeah. Could you move back in with your parents? Sure. Pay them some rent if you do. Your electric bill, gonna be essential. Put that down. Write all those things down. Don't list, if it get to your streaming expenses and go, is this essential? No. But if it's really hurtful and you feel like you need that, write it down. When you're making out your essential list, remember you're not saying not ever, you're just saying not right now, till you get some things under control. So make that list out, write everything out. If you can do without YouTube Premium and just do YouTube with ads for a little bit of time, it's gonna help you with that little bit of money. It doesn't seem like much, but it adds up over time. If you have subscriptions to stores or grocery pickup, things like that, if you can do without for just a little bit, it's gonna save you in the long run. Now, if you've got your list and it's pretty basic and you go, okay, I'm already at the basic, Amy, we don't have a lot that we spend on. So now you look at and go, okay, your electric bill. Is there ways that you can lower your electric bill? There are many ways. I remember when we first, this was a long time ago, first bought a house, they had a class offered through the state, and it was all for ways to become energy efficient. And the class was like an hour, but I sat there and they gave you so many tips on saving money on your energy bill. And they were simple, but they were easy. But I still remember things like putting your lid on your pot of boiling water when you're making pasta, to not let that energy go out of the air because you're keeping that heat in there. And it's less time using the the electric or the propane. Simple things. Or, making sure you have curtains shut during to keep the heat contained when it's cold, or when it's sunny, open your curtains to let some extra warmth in your house. Just little easy things. And you can find tons and tons of YouTube videos, blog posts, type in Google, ways to save on your electric bill, ways to save on your gas bill. There's a whole lot more than just what I'm saying, but those little things help. Getting LED bulbs, I remember, changing your shower heads so your water bill is less. Little things that you can do to save some money. And also look at different things like your insurance, your car insurance. Sometimes you just go with a company because it's, nice name company, but if you shop around, it doesn't cost you anything to shop around. Call a couple different places and see if they can give you a better quote on your insurance. We did that and we saved a lot of money. I remember in the beginning going, we have to cut back. And I called around to a few different places and I got our bill cut down hugely. So call around, do that. Same thing if you have garbage pickup, trash, anything like that. Call around and ask if there's other companies that will do it cheaper. They usually will. Your phone bill, you can always cut down that phone bill unless you're locked into some plan that you can't get out of. But consider getting, if you've got a really high phone bill, because I know it's expensive, consider buying the phone outright. Like if you can go to like Walmart or wherever and buy the phone and just put like, the $20 on it each month to use it. Whatever you need in your life to cut back. But you don't need all the high gadgets. You don't need all the expensive everything. Just look for it, but that might be your main source of life. I don't know, it's going to be different for everybody, but just look at everything and go, can I cut this out? Do I really need subscriptions to, YouTube, to Netflix, to Disney? Do I really need that? Can I do with DVDs for a little bit? I know, old school. Cable, especially, those things. Think of things that you can cut out. You will not die if you shut off your TV for a little bit. I promise you, you will live. You will actually grow closer to your family because you're going to spend more time together. It's true. You can do a quick Google and you can find out the news for the day, so don't worry about missing it on the TV. Think of clothes shopping. Do you have to go to the store every single month and buy a new wardrobe, or every season? Can you shop at a discount store? Can you shop at Goodwill? Do it temporarily. You can find a whole lot of deals just by shopping around and looking, just to save in your budget. Now, when you're budgeting and you're trimming things and you're cutting things out, be realistic. If you really can't live without your Netflix for the month, then keep that in your budget. But if you can go, okay, just for a little bit, let me cut that out. Or your coffee. Do you love getting coffee? I like getting coffee, but for a month's time, all that money that you're spending on coffee, can you just take your own each week? Every time you leave your house, when I leave my house, I always have my cup of water with ice and maybe lemon or a little flavored juice pack in there, and a coffee. Because if I have that in my car already, and then grab like a granola bar. If that's in my car already, when I'm out, I'm not tempted when I'm driving by the coffee shop to go, I need some coffee, I need something to drink. I've already got some in my car. If I have a granola bar, when I'm driving past that Chick-fil-A, I don't go, ooh, I'm hungry. Nope, I grab that granola bar and eat it. It may not be Chick-fil-A, but it'll suffice, fill your belly, and that temptation is going to be less. So your essentials are going to be different than our essentials are. We chose to have 10 children. That was our choice to do that. So people are like, how do you afford? How do you do that? Well, we just cut out different things that maybe somebody else would not even consider something to cut out of their, their budget for the month. For us, we learned to do things differently. And so we had our fixed expenses, pretty much our electric bill, our gas bill, our trash. Those were all things that were kind of, you couldn't change those. You could cut back on some things. You could bundle up a little bit more in the winter or sweat just a little bit in the summer. They were not terrible, but just, a couple degrees makes a difference on your electric bill and your gas bill. And then we did things on the cheap. It's like, it was more important for us to, go to the library and get free DVDs. It was better to go to the park and run around and have a good time and take a picnic. It was better to go to the lake. That was free. We didn't go out and buy brand name clothes from the store. We would shop at Goodwill to save some money. And so we just did things differently. And also for food, it's like we just learned to make things from scratch. We didn't eat out a lot, and when we did, we were really careful with what we spent. So we still went out and got coffees. We did the little things that were important for us to have some sanity, but we didn't do the extreme, let's just go blow all our money because we want to. No, we decided to take different values for our family that was important to us. And for myself as a stay-at-home mom, my husband worked and he was the money maker. And so that was his job, is to work and be gone and, you know, make the money. For me at home, I was like, okay, as a homemaker, I'm like, what can I do to help the family budget? Because there's a whole lot you can do if you're at home. You can save money, you can help your husband's paycheck or your wife's paycheck, however it goes, be spread out really, really well by doing things on the cheap. Like for myself, we have a grocery budget and we set it, and then I was like, and that's hard to kind of figure out at first. You watch different channels and you see people, they're like, it's put $100 a month per person. Not feasible, because a lot of those things, they're buying like bulk meat, they're not including all their toiletries into it. So for us with 10 kids, I've learned that if you save $125 a month per person, that you can live off of. If you're new and you don't really know how to cook from scratch, you don't know really how to save money in meals, budget $150 per person for right now. You can always cut back later, but to start out at a low number, that's like depressing sometimes, because you're like, how can I do that? I'm not gonna be able to eat. So 125 is the rule that we use, and that includes everything for the month. Everything. That includes your toilet paper, your shampoo, light bulbs, anything that you need to buy for the household. So I did that. I would budget that out. We did once a month shopping. I found that was the cheapest for our family, to go shopping one time a month and get everything I need for the month for meals and for household needs. Now that's a little overwhelming for people. I get that. Do it for a week, and then take that week, which I did, and I doubled it for 2 weeks, and then spend your money in 2 weeks, and then I doubled it for 3 weeks. The reason why I did that is because it was out of convenience. I had a lot of little kids, and to go shopping every week, it was like dreaded. I did not like going every Friday. I was like, shopping day, stressful. So then I was like, if I can just go every 2 weeks, my life is easier. And then when I realized I could go every 3 weeks, I was like, wow, way better. So we bumped it up to once a month. Now in that month, we might go back in about 2 weeks and get fresh milk, some fresh veggies and fruit if we ran out. But all of our food, if we couldn't though, all of our food was in our home, and I could still make some meals for our family. That's a good thing about doing that. Like I know that I would get it all in 1 month. So then let's say 1 week, his hours were a little bit lower and I wasn't able to take that extra money and buy the groceries. I didn't have to. We didn't starve. Nobody went hungry. I just used what we had, and maybe we didn't have fresh milk. Maybe we didn't have fresh apples and bananas, but we might have had applesauce in the pantry or canned peaches in the pantry. So you just have to kind of plan that way, not be so like stuck in, I have to spend, I have to spend. You set that little bit of a budget and live within it. You can do that. You can eat on the cheap, but if you're not used to that, give yourself a little, you know, leniency and do like a $150 a month to start with, and you'll see where you have extras and where you need to cut back. For myself, it was like, how can I save this? Because I always felt if I had that extra and I didn't spend it every month, that was some extra money we had and we could go do something fun. So that was like a challenge for me. It was kind of neat to go, wow, we have $200 left over. Let's go buy this, something we've been wanting for a really long time and not being able to afford. So that was my challenge, and there's plenty of YouTube videos, plenty of books at the library, or blog posts on how to save on your grocery budget, all those good things. So you just look at it was like a challenge. How can I save money? What can I do to cut back? All good things. All right, now that you've got your budget right, you made your whole list of things that are essential to you in your life, add that amount up and then look at it and go, is it under my income for the month? If it is not, you're gonna have to trim out a few more things. I know, that's the hard part. But you have to go, okay, remember, it's just for a little time until I get things under control. So keep doing that, keep cutting it until you can get it matched where it's right at your income or right below your income. And then you're gonna set up how you're gonna distribute your funds each and every week. So for some, like for us, we just took 1 week and put it towards groceries. 1 week was towards our rent. The 3rd week was for our utilities and our gas and that kind of thing. And our 4th week was sometimes extra, or the leftover if you needed it somewhere else. But it's going to vary depending on your financial situation. You might take your amounts for your electric and divide it up for the month, and then take some out of your paycheck every single week. Or, you know, maybe the first paycheck do a couple utilities and groceries. It just depends how you're going to be able to set it up for yourself. Some people like doing the envelope system. I know for my kids, when they start out, that's what they do, is they make their envelopes and they put, you know, one for this bill, one for this, and then when they get their checks, they cash them, and then they divide up their money in their envelopes, so that through the month, like if they go, okay, I spent all my money on my entertainment, so can I take from my food budget for something else? And so it's just a good visual to see where their money is going. And that's just going to depend on you, the individual. If you're very structured and can do good, you can just in your head go, okay, this paycheck is gonna go for this week. I gotta save some of it for the next week. Everybody's different, so you have to do what works best for you, but just at least know where each paycheck is going to go. If you need to make your little list of paper, like I would sometimes write in my planner, I would be like, okay, week 1, and I'd put my little 2 things, like it went for utilities or groceries, and so that I knew when it came, this has to be going out to here, this has to go out to here, whatever works for you. All right, so you've got that budget. You are going to try to implement that this month. I know that's the hard part, but you have to know, okay, I've already spent my allotment for coffee. I can't go get any more this month. So, and then through that month, you might spend more on something and less on something. So then the next month you might get to tweak that number a little bit. So the key is you just got to go, all right, do I want some financial freedom eventually in my life? I know when you're younger, maybe you're even older, and you go, it doesn't matter, it'll be fine, it'll all work. No, it doesn't. You have to actually have a plan. It doesn't just mysteriously work out. You have to actually physically make a plan and stick to it as best you can. I mean, things happen, life happens, upsets happen, and that's where we're gonna be talking in a second about something else you need to do. But get that budget and know where your money goes. You can cut back on so many different expenses. Your rent is pretty much fixed. That is not going to change what you pay per month. That's it, unless you move and get something cheaper, and that is sometimes has to be an option. If you can't afford where you're at, consider selling, consider renting at a cheaper thing. But like your utilities, those aren't fixed. It's based on how much you use it. Do you have to have all your lights on in your house? No. Can you use a little space heater instead of all your heat in your house? I know people that don't even turn their heat on. Mind you, they have no kids and it's just them. And they use a little space heater or even a blanket, an electric blanket. I'm like, oh my goodness, I couldn't go that extreme. But their electric bill is super, super tiny. And I'm like, okay, they didn't die and they're doing just fine. Or, you know, you might just think for your food budget and go, do I really need that name brand shampoo? Can I go and try some store brand ones for a little bit? Or do I have to eat, you know, steak and all these wonderful, delicious tasting foods for right now? Or can I kind of come back and do some ground beef every once in a while? Can I do some meatless dishes once in a while? Food, you have to look at food and go, it's for energy. It's for you to be able to function in life. It doesn't have to be a big giant soiree of all these abundant, expensive foods. You just have to look, food is there to eat. That's what I need it for. So what is the cheapest that I can do to be able to function in my life? There is a whole lot of ways to cut back on your grocery bill. A whole lot of ways. We have done all of them. We have done all of them. I have gone where I just had $40 for the week and that's all I had for groceries. So I had to go, what and how can I feed my family? Well, you know what? That week we ate peanut butter and jelly, and we ate a lot of eggs. We had some sandwiches, and we did some rice and beans. And guess what? We survived. We survived. We did not die. And guess what? The next week we were able to eat chicken. We were able to have ground beef. You just have to look at where can I cut back. Not every single night has to be able to utilize your leftovers, utilize your pantry, utilize the things in your freezer. Don't let things go to waste. Go, how can I use this and use it up in a meal creatively? You know, there's so much you can do. I have lots of videos on saving money in food by gathering up your fragments and repurposing them, repurposing your food. That sounds kind of gross, but that is how it works, to make something that you can eat. So many ways you can do that. So, but you have to choose. You have to choose what is important for you. If it's important for you to eat really expensive foods, well then your food budget is going to be a little bit higher, and that's okay, but you're gonna have to cut back on something else. Now when you're trimming out things, you have to look at things like haircuts, and if you have a pet, maybe dog grooming things. Look at things, okay, like look at your little list and go, is there anything that I can do myself to save money? Do I really need to go get my hair cut, or can I learn to cut it myself? Maybe you can't. Maybe you're not gifted that way, so don't touch those scissors. But you might be able to cut back on certain expenses if you can do them yourself. You know, maybe you can barter with some friends to be able to share. Like I have a friend that does hair, and she has a lot of kids. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch your kids for a couple hours so you can go do something. If you cut my kids and family's hair for the month, the kids aren't that hairy, but you can do things like that. So that is your budget. Just look at what you can cut out. That's how you set up your budget. You want to just list and know where your money goes. You budget. It's easy. You can't go with a certain number. Like you can't, you know, live off of 80, save 20. That doesn't always work. Like we lived paycheck to paycheck in the beginning of our marriage. All of our money went to life. There was no savings, there was no nothing. But we had to get on top of things. And so that's what you need to do in your own life. You need to be able to know where your money goes. Maybe you're going through a season. Maybe like right now you need to go, okay, ever there is no money to save. I can't even put a cent away, so I'm gonna have to live within this. And then you get creative and you go, okay, so how can I move that number down just a tad? Can I save 10 bucks on my electric bill? Can I save 20 bucks this week on my groceries? Every little bit that you can cut down, put that rest away, because that's gonna be your next step. Okay, most people are living paycheck to paycheck. Most of Americans. So the key is you've got to put an emergency fund aside. You don't have to put thousands of dollars away. Maybe that's not feasible. If you can, awesome. But most of the world, most of us is living paycheck to paycheck. So you have to focus on putting $1,000 away for an emergency and not touch it. Now, yes, we all know savings is important, but having that emergency is very important because life happens. You could get laid off for the week and not have any money, and you do not want to lose your house over it or put yourself further behind. So how do you go about getting that $1,000? How do you get that $1,000? You get creative. Can you pick up a few extra hours at your job and put that money away? Can you look around your home and sell something? You know, there's a whole lot of the Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, I don't even know where else, eBay, all those things. Look around your home and look, what do you not use that's just sitting there? Most of us have too much in our house. Most of us do. Most of us stick our stuff in the garage and it sits there for years and years and years. Can you sell some of it? Can you get rid of it? I don't know if people are really doing garage sales now. I do see them around here, but put your stuff out for sale and don't label everything a certain price unless it's certain of quality that you want to get a certain amount for. But when I would do a garage sale, I'd say all the clothing is $1 a bag or $2 a bag or whatever money amount you want to set it, because when you start labeling everything individually, guess what? Most people are not going to touch that. And you know what you're going to do with all that clothing? It's going to go back in your house, back in those storage boxes in your garage. If you truly want to get rid of things and have no need for them, do a deal. $2 a bag. Let them fill up a grocery bag and take all of it. You'll have a whole lot more gone, less stuff in your house, and you'll actually make some money. So consider selling things off to get that money. I know, like, we did homeschool. We collected a lot of books over the years, and so a lot of it we weren't using, and a lot of it I could find at the library. So I'm like, let me resell these books. Even though it was nice having them at my home, I can order them from the library and use them just the same, and just that would be fine. That was a way to make that $1,000. So you want to get that $1,000 as soon as you can. Don't not pay your bills. Pay your bills. Don't go, I'm not going to pay my credit card this month, I'm going to put that money aside. No, 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 no. Pay off that debt as well. We're going to talk that in a minute. You just need to get that $1,000 so when life happens, you're not financially ruined. All right, you got your $1,000, right? Okay, that's your emergency fund. Not your, I gotta go out to dinner because I'm too tired to cook dinner fund, or not your, oh, let's go buy that new TV for our house. No, that is your $1,000 do not touch fund for any emergency. That's for when you lose your job for the week and you need to live off it, or your car engine, if something happens to your car and you need to get that done. That's what that's for. All right, then your next step is going to be to pay off your debt. It is not going to do you any good to put a whole lot of money in the bank if you've got thousands of dollars of credit card debt looming over you. Now, most of us have a home debt, and that's fine. You might even have a car debt payment. So I'm not necessarily talking that unless that's something you want to work towards. I'm talking about the credit card debt. You gotta get in that mindset of not buy now, pay later. Doesn't work. That does not work. You gotta put those credit cards away. Put them away. You can live off just paying cash for things. I know. It might not look as fancy. It might not look as high class and good to our friends, because we can't do that because it costs money, but it frees you, the person taking that money. You don't want to be a slave to the lender. It doesn't work that way. So your goal is to get rid of that debt. So get it gone. If you can consolidate credit cards at a lower interest rate, do that. Take those credit cards and cut them up. Did I just say that? Yes, cut those credit cards up, especially if you have a hard time using them. Or I think, I remember back in the day when they talked about controlling your spending, you would put your credit card in a container of water and freeze it. I know. So if you really, really needed it, you would have to thaw that big block of ice. I don't know if they recommend that, if that's bad to get water on your credit card. I don't know, but don't use them. Don't use them. If you need one because you feel like you need it for an emergency, then that truly will be put away for an emergency. Do not keep it in your purse. Do not keep it where it's easily accessible. Put it and file it away if you truly need it, and pay off that debt. Don't use food as something that you need to go spend and buy groceries. Like go shopping in your pantry, go shopping in your refrigerator. Look for something, think of meals that you can stretch out over a few days that's gonna be cheap. Maybe you need less meat and a little bit more pasta that week, or a little bit more rice that week. Cut back to get rid of that debt. If you have a $5,000 credit card bill, all right, go $5,000 credit card bill. If I paid off roughly $100 a week, in a year's time, it should be paid off. You have a little bit of interest paying on your interest. So then you go, okay, if that's how aggressive I can do it, if you can, divide that up for the year and go, all right, I'm gonna need $400 a month to pay off that credit card. Oh gosh, that sounds like a lot. But if you can't, if that's too much to put in your budget, go over a 2-year period and start budgeting that to get it gone. Don't just pay the minimum on that credit card, because you will pay that debt for the rest of your life. Think over and above to get it gone. If you can get a lower interest rate, good. That's important, because if you're paying a whole lot of money for it, it is just going to put you further and further behind and stop spending. I know that's hard. You got to do it just for a little bit. You got to suffer for a little bit. Suffer for your choices, but in the long run, you're not going to want that, because life happens and things happen, and you're going to move into a new season in your life. You might have children, you might get married, whatever the situation, or you might need some medical care. So you have to go, I got to get that debt gone. It's so important to get that debt gone. Now, don't focus so much on your home or your car, because those are things you do need to live. Focus on getting that credit card gone. That is your key. You don't have to have a credit card to live. You can live without one. We lived without one for many, many years and just paid cash for things. Greatest freeing thing we did, because we learned to spend within our means. There, you didn't have it, okay, so what's the next alternative? You know, we needed groceries, and I'm like, okay, this is all we have, so what are we going to do? Well, then you get creative. Or you think you need that certain thing, you know, in your home. Well, guess what? You just wait until you can afford it later on. We would wait for like purchases of big things to tax time. That was good for us when we first started out, because, you know, we would get a big chunk back from the government, you know, for taxes, but we would make our list of things we wanted. Like, I know for us, we were buying diapers. We had a lot of kids in diapers at the same time. And so a lot of our income for the month was going towards diapers. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So because we had so many, I thought, let's invest in cloth diapers. Not as fun for everybody, but not an unfeasible thing to do. It's actually very easy to use diapers, cloth diapers. And so we bought just the cheapy old school ones with plastic pants. You probably don't even know what those are, but old school kind. And that worked. And then at tax time, we were able to invest and buy enough cloth diapers for all of them to use. Okay, so we did that at that time. And then we didn't have the diaper expense for the rest of the month. Sometimes we would buy one box every few months just to have for emergencies or sickness, or if we had to travel, things like that. So we did that. Maybe your TV blew up and you have no TV. I know, not good. Don't go out and buy a big giant flat screen. Go hit your local Goodwill and get your old school, big giant, you know, big wide TV. Use that temporarily until your tax time, and then go, okay, this is my list of these things that I've been wanting. And then if you're holding on to that list for a long time, it's real easy after a while to go, do we really need that brand new furniture set? No, we can do without. You know, do we really need that brand new refrigerator? No, this used one I picked up at the resale store is working just fine. So it helps you to analyze what you think your needs were and kind of mark them off if you don't need them. That was something we always did. And so, and then we would do things, we'd splurge things too. It was fun for us to go spend on some frivolous things. There's nothing wrong with giving yourself a little bit of fun in there as well, and especially in that budget, because if you're stifling yourself so much, or you're stifling your spouse so much, not a good thing. So we would look for big purchases at that time of year, and then we just, all right, let's go do this at this time, or we would get, you know, even our clothing needs for the year, and it was like, that was the only time we did it. So then we would have to wait that whole next time until we got them. And so we knew to take care of what we had, because there wasn't going to be any more till the next time. So just some things you can do to save up for those purchases, kind of suffer through, but you're not really suffering. You're just kind of, okay, I can do this until that time. You know, sometimes our refrigerators do die, or our washing machines do die, and you can't always go buy a brand new one. So then we would go, all right, we started doing the laundromat. Well, that was costing a whole lot of money. So then we thought, if we can go buy a used one, even if it only works for, you know, set amount of months, it's cheaper than taking the clothing to the laundromat and getting it washed. And so we would do that. We had to go through that multiple times. There was times our dryer died and I didn't have a dryer, but guess what? I utilized a clothesline. Yes, I put a clothesline outside and hung everything up. And then when it was cold, I hung it up in my house. I did. I got a really nice drying rack and I hung up everything. I had to be on the laundry every single day and make sure it's washed, but I did. Maybe your washer's gone out and you don't have a washer. Well, guess what? You can wash your clothes in the sink. I know if you have a large family, it doesn't work, but if it's just, you know, 1 or 2 people, wash those things, reuse some clothes. There's things you can do. It's not like if your vacuum dies, boom, you're stuck and you can't do anything else. No, you just have to get creative. I remember when a vacuum had died and we had a shop vac. You know, the shop vac, it only has that little circle tube. Well, I remember getting on my hands and knees and vacuuming the carpet in my living room. It took me a whole lot longer, but it was better than not vacuuming at all. And so I had to wait until we were able to get one. So you just have to get out of that mindset of like, oh, vacuum died, I better go buy one. Or, oh, my washer died, I need to go have one. You just gotta go, okay, wait a minute. What can I do instead to save some money so that I can do that? You gotta kind of ration out. Yes, it is better to buy it over time, but if you can't afford to buy a $700 washing machine, let me go find a used one. It may not be the best, but it will work for $100, and even if it works for a year, it's still better than paying full price for one. So you just gotta look at your different options that way. All right, so after you've got your $1,000 emergency fund, you paid off that credit card debt, then you can think about putting some away. You should, everybody recommends putting away 3 to 6 months of expenses. That seems like so much, and especially if you're struggling with budget. So this part might not even pertain to you. I remember going, I couldn't even think about doing that. But after you get off, you know, your debt paying bills, you're gonna have that extra money. So instead of paying $300-400 a month for a credit card, guess what? $300-400 you have each month to put away. And that's where you can start building your savings account. Or maybe you're paying a car payment and you have another year left, you pay that off. Well, then you can start putting that $300-400 payment away and putting it into your savings account. And then I would suggest, if you want to get a new car, okay, if you don't have a payment right now, go, okay, my other car's still running, it's still good. Every month I'm gonna put away what that payment would be. If it's $350, $400, I'm gonna put that away in my little savings, my little envelope labeled car. In a year's time, you've got $4,800 to put to buy a car. Now you might even put that down as a down payment, and then you have a little bit of remainder and your payment's lesser. Or you go, wait a minute, I can buy a lesser car and not get that more expensive car, and buy that and continue putting away your money every single month like you would a payment. And then that next year, sell that car, have some money, and take that next amount of money that you've been putting away and get a better car. You have to decide what options are going to work for you. That might not work for you. For myself, I have a husband that can fix things cheap. That works for me. But if you don't and you need to have that, okay, then go, well, my car payments are done. Let me start putting away. And then if something happens and you have to get a car, at least you have a chunk to put towards it for it. You just got to do what's good for your situation. Everybody's is different. Not everybody's in the same situation. So you got to do you. All right, so I hope I gave you some good budgeting tips and some things that we have done over the years to help save and put a little bit more money in your pocket. Now, if you're starting out and you just have nothing and you're in debt, start doing what I said. Get that list written out. Write out everything you're spending each month so you know where your money goes. And then look at that and go, what can I cut back on? What can I cut back on? Because there's always ways to cut back on things. There's always ways to cut back on things. You just are not told that you have to live that way. It's like you're told you have to live this way. But if you can live a little bit differently, like over here, guess what? You're gonna be able to enjoy more of life later on, because you're not gonna be so tied to somebody else for owing money to them, right? Yes, we wanna be financially free, but it starts with making some little steps right now and getting to that bigger picture in the end. So, all right, you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you guys again tomorrow with another video. Have a great day. Bye. All right, for those of you that want to stick around and listen to our psalm, I'm going to read our psalm for the day. It is Psalm 23. The Lord, the psalmist shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd, to feed, to guide, and to shield me. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. It actually says he lets me lie down in green pastures. I remember the makes from the other version. He lets you lay down. He leads me beside the still and quiet waters. He refreshes and restores my soul, my life. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the sunless valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod to protect and your staff to guide, they comfort and console me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed and refreshed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy and unfailing love shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell forever throughout all my days in the house and in the presence of the Lord. That's a good one for today, I think, with the finances there. All right, have a blessed day.